Hello class, so I am not here today. My daughter got sick right before we left for school this morning, so I have to stay home with her. You should have your notes packet out to the day 2 notes. If you don't have a notes packet because you weren't here yesterday, just let the sub know and they can get it for you. It's on the cart behind my desk. We started talking about conditional statements, and today we're going to talk about moving things around and doing converse, inverse, contrapositive, and biconditional. Get ready, we're going to be writing like crazy. So, here we go. So we have seen the conditional statements written in the word if-then form by switching the hypothesis and conclusion. So if you switch the order, we get another type of statement called the converse. All right. So before it was if P then Q, converse is going to switch it, and it'll be if Q then P. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to write the statement as a conditional, if not already. So if it's not an if then, we got to change it. We're going to write the converse, and then we're going to figure out if it's true or false and give a counterexample if it's false. So for this one, it's a conditional. If an angle measures 112 degrees, then it is an obtuse angle. Right, so this is the hypothesis and this is the conclusion. By the way, if you need to pause the video because I'm going to go kind of fast, feel free. So we've got P and Q. Converse, you're going to switch it. So you're going to say if, and you'll do the conclusion first, it is an obtuse angle. All right. Then an angle measures 112 degrees. An angle measures 112 degrees. All right. Is that going to be true? Well, is it always true that an obtuse angle, if it's an obtuse angle, it measures 112 degrees? No, that's not always the case. Counterexample could be some other kind of obtuse angle, like it could be 135 degrees. It could be 91 degrees. It could be 100 degrees. It could be any other angle measurement between 90 and 180. So that's going to be false. All right, this one is not a conditional. Dogs are animals. So we could say something like, if it's a dog, then it's an animal. All right, so we had to change it into a conditional. Then we do the converse. The converse is where you switch these. So instead of if it's a dog, we'll say if it's an animal, then it's a dog. And we got to figure out if that's always true. So if it's an animal, is it always going to be a dog? No. If it's an animal, it could be something else. All right, false. It could be some other kind of animal, like it could be a cat. All right, it could be a squirrel, could be a rabbit, could be lots of other things. All right, if 3 points are collinear, then they lie on the same line. This one's already conditional, so we just need to reverse it, for the converse. So if they lie on the same line, if they lie on the same line, then the 3 points are collinear. All right, we need to figure out if that's always true. So if the points lie on the same line, will they be collinear? You bet. That's always the case. That's what the definition of collinear is. All right, we got a couple others to learn. Remember that we can write the conditional in the form P then Q. We can write the converse in the form of if Q then P. We have 2 other ones. Both of them deal with the negation of the hypothesis and the conclusion. The symbol for negation is kind of this squiggle sign. The inverse is the first one we're going to learn. That negates the hypothesis and the conclusion. Like the converse, it can be true or false. It is written not P, not Q. All right, so we're going to be negating stuff. And then the contrapositive is the other one. Contrapositive negates them both and also exchanges them. Exchanges the hypothesis and the conclusion. So instead of P going first, it'll be not Q, not P. All right, and we're going to practice that on the next page. So we've got write each converse, inverse, contrapositive, tell whether they're true or false, give a counterexample if it's false. So if it's raining, then the ground is wet. So converse, all right, is going to be Q then P. So the conclusion goes first. So if the ground is wet, then it is raining. All right, that's the converse. All right, if the ground is wet, then it's raining. Is that always going to be true? False. Maybe it's wet from snow. All right. Maybe it's not wet from rain. Maybe it's wet from snow on the ground, or snow's melting or something like that. So that's what you're looking for, is false in a counterexample. Inverse is going to be not P, then not Q. So it keeps the same order as the original, but it negates it. So instead of if it is raining, we'll say if it is not raining, then the ground is not wet. So we put like a not in there. Then the ground is not wet. All right, and is that always going to be true? No. Just because it's not raining doesn't mean the ground is not wet. False. Maybe you sprayed the ground with a hose. All right. Maybe you were washing your car or something. That would make the ground wet, but it's not raining. All right. So something like that. Contrapositive is going to negate and switch. So it's not Q, not P. So instead, we're going to talk about ground not being wet first. If the ground is not wet, then it is not raining. All right. If the ground is not wet, then it is not raining. Well, if the ground's dry, then it's probably not raining, because it wouldn't be dry if that were the case. So that one's going to be true. All right, you assume the first part's true, that the ground is not wet. Is it always going to be true that it's not raining? Yeah, I would think so. All right, the next one. If the measure of angle A is 100, then angle A is obtuse. All right, converse, Q then P. So we're going to talk about if angle A is obtuse, then the measure of angle A is equal to 100. Is that always true? That if angle A is obtuse, is the angle going to have to be 100? If it's going to be obtuse, it could be really more than just 100, right? It could be anything between 90 and 180. It could be 99 degrees. It could be 150 degrees. It doesn't have to be exactly 100 to be obtuse. So that one's false. Inverse, we're negating but keeping in the same order. So if the measure of angle A is not equal to 100, then angle A is not obtuse. All right, and you got to think, is that always true? Well, just because it's not 100 doesn't mean it's not obtuse. It could be something else. It could still be like 99 or something else. So false, angle A can still be obtuse. It could be like 102. All right, it could be something else. So it doesn't have to be, just because it's not 100 doesn't mean it's not obtuse. Contrapositive, we negate and switch. So we start off with the angle A not being obtuse. If angle A is not obtuse, then the measure of angle A is not equal to 100. That one will be true. If it's not obtuse, then it definitely can't equal 100, because 100 would be obtuse. All right, again, you assume the first part's true, that angle A is not obtuse. Is it always going to be true that it couldn't be equal to 100 then? Yes, absolutely. All right, the last one is the biconditional. The last type of statement we have is a biconditional. A biconditional. It can be written in the form P with kind of like a double arrow, Q. And it means if and only if. All right. A biconditional is true only when the statement is true both forwards and backwards. All right. Definition can be written as true biconditionals. All right. So here's what we got. Write the conditional statement and converse with each biconditional. So an angle is a right angle if and only if its measure is 90 degrees. The conditional would just be your typical if-then. If an angle is a right angle, then its measure is 90 degrees. Its measure is 90 degrees. The converse is where we swap them. So the converse is going to say if its measure is 90 degrees, then an angle is a right angle. All right, so yeah, do you feel like you're in English class? We're doing lots and lots of writing. All right, not hard though, just lots of writing. All right, then this one we've got converse and biconditional. So this time we're given the conditional. If a piece of paper is 12 inches long, then it is 1 foot long. Converse, we swap it. So if it is 1 foot long, then the paper is 12 inches long. Then the paper is 12 inches long. All right. Biconditional is going to add the if and only if. It keeps it in the same order, but it puts an if and only if in the middle. So we won't start with if and then have the and then in the middle. We'll put if and only if in the middle. So we would say something like a piece of paper is 12 inches long. And then we'll say if and only if, so we kind of put it in between the hypothesis and the conclusion. If and only if it is 1 foot long. All right. So that is all of the different types of statements that you can have. Converse, inverse, contrapositive, biconditional. So yeah, you should be pretty good. We'll go through homework questions from last night as well as tonight's homework tomorrow. I promise I'll be back tomorrow. And so the rest of the time is yours to work. The numbers are written on the board. It's also on the front of the homework packet. All right, good luck guys. Thanks.